The most fascinating secrets of the Himalayas, one being the Yeti. Dubbed the abominable snowman, this is probably the most intriguing subject mankind has ever been mystified with for centuries. What then is this mystical creature called the Yeti, and what drives it to mystify people around the globe? We will watch here how the mystery of the Yeti started, go through some of the most popular theories, and analyze the evidence in hopes that this will bring us a little bit closer to uncovering some truth. Okay, sit back, take a cup of tea, and let's do this. The history of the Yeti has the oldest roots in Himalayan folklore. This large ape-like animal living in mountain peaks has been cited as part of the usual traditional stories that local dwellers, the Sherpas and Tibetans, tell for years. They depict this creature being larger than the average-sized man, fur-covered and walking upright on its legs, giving it somewhat a Bigfoot-like structure. However, it was only in the 19th century that the legend became an international phenomenon. In 1889, a British explorer by the name of Colonel Charles Howard Berry was the first person to officially record the sighting of this mysterious creature in the Himalayas. He had written reports describing large footprints, and before long the story of the Yeti started spreading like wildfire. Fast forward into the 20th century and the Yeti would dominate the world. In 1951, a British mountaineer named Eric Shipton took photographs of what was thought to be large human-like footprints near the base of Mount Everest. These images began going viral, and before one knew it, explorers, scientists, and adventurers all over the world were searching for evidence that the Yeti existed. But despite all the legends and tales, no concrete evidence of the Yeti was ever found. What is the real story behind all this? First and foremost, the most popular theory that perhaps the Yeti is a yet-to-be-discovered species of primate. Some researchers believe that the Yeti might be an actual but unknown species of large ape or humanoid creature that roams the remote, inaccessible regions of the Himalayas. The theory works on the fact that so many unique species are housed in the Himalayas, and it's quite possible that we haven't discovered all of the creatures residing in those remote areas. For that matter, there are discoveries of new species of animals all the time, even within the most explored regions of the globe. For instance, in 2007, a new species of monkey was discovered in the Himalayas. Therefore, it is not impossible that an undiscovered species of ape may exist. But this theory is highly defective. Many explorations and studies have been done, and still no body and even no clear photograph of Yeti has been found. If the creature is real, would it not be logical that some evidence like bones or DNA or a very convincing photograph should appear? The most common explanation is that the Yeti is a misidentified animal. It is assumed that the appearance of the Yeti can be accounted for by misidentifications of known animals in the region, such as bears or large monkeys. For example, the Himalayan brown bear bears a resemblance to the build of the Yeti, and its footprints sometimes correspond to those described in sightings of the Yeti. Maybe they mistook the giant shaggy-haired blue sheep known popularly as the barrel, or the musk deer for that matter, with a creature even more human in appearance. Well, the eyewitnesses would be wrong, and people sometimes mistake to judge things at a distance, in this case judging things under high altitude with snowfall, especially on stressful expedition times. However, though misidentifications may explain some of these, this can explain none of them altogether. In reported Yeti sightings, there seems to be a description that cannot match the character of any known animal found in the region. This makes us believe that the Yeti may indeed be the most believable hoax ever. Many stories are told and shared about hoaxes and fake fabricated stories, especially during the first years of the story of the Yeti. According to some experts, Eric Shipton's famous picture taken in 1951 is one infamous blunder and deliberate falsehood. However, it had been said over the years that there were discoveries of footprints from the Yeti, but much later was disclosed to the public that such prints were done by pranksters. In 2008, it was concluded from the study that most of the Yeti relics, for instance hair samples and footprints, were found to be from known animals including bears and goats. So while the whole idea of the Yeti hoax is tempting, it would also be remembered that such reports come from highly credited sources like explorers and scientists. Would they all really be made a fool of by a hoax? And here we get an interesting take on the topic. This is because the Yeti is never an actual living thing, but rather is a culture representation. In terms of the outlooks presented by some anthropologists, the Yeti represents some more profound phenomena, including maybe even this phenomenon that is given whereby human beings show fear regarding the unknown. The Yeti can be regarded as representing all the glory and terror behind the Himalayas. In this regard, the Yeti may not be a creature, but is an archetype of that very harsh, untamed nature of the mountains. It could just be another product of human imagination, or just passed down through generations from one generation to another about oral tradition and folklore. This theory doesn't rule out that maybe in fact the origin of stories associated with the Yeti are from the animals themselves, but it makes it so that this legend has taken its life. Now that we've explored our theories, let us examine the evidence itself. What do we really know for sure about the Yeti? Honestly, not a lot at all. Several cases of footprints as well as Yeti sightings have been identified over the years. However, no evidence is linked to this with regard to the sighting of this creature. The prints are hazy, and for those reviewed sample cases containing some of the hair as well as parts of bone, many are from bears, goats, as well as dogs. The most popularly acclaimed evidence is the so-called Yeti scalp, which was said to have been found supposedly by an expedition group in 1950. After closer analysis, it was proven that the scalp belonged to a goat-like creature, which further degraded the concept of a Yeti. So after all this, what do we say of the Yeti? Does it exist? Well, I really cannot say so. Truth is, no conclusive evidence could prove the existence of the Yeti. Then again, there's no solid evidence that it doesn't exist either. And thus the mystery of the Yeti has been one of those enticing questions that continues to tantalize and puzzle people worldwide. It's important to approach the Yeti mystery with an open mind while also being critical of the evidence that's presented. Perhaps in the future we'll find new evidence that brings us closer to solving the mystery. But for now, the Yeti remains a symbol of the unexplored and the unknown, a creature that may or may not exist, but one that will continue to inspire curiosity for generations to come. Do you believe this monster called Yeti exists, or is it just an unsolved mystery? Leave it in the comment box down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for such a deep dive more like this.